Always true.
Bangladesh has seen some of its worst violence in decades. Sparked by student protests against a government job quota system, the demonstrators say favoured supporters of the ruling Awami League party. The country's Supreme Court has now scrapped the quota, but with dozens killed and hundreds arrested, serious questions remain over the government's handling of the crisis, with students demanding meaningful change in a country where they believe democratic values are at risk. Join us over the next half an hour as Mohammad Arafat, Bangladesh's Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting, talks to Al Jazeera. Mohammad Arafat, welcome to Talk to Al Jazeera. So it's 2 weeks since the protests started against a government job quota system. At least 150 people are reported dead, although the government has not released official figures. The country has been crippled by internet and communications blackouts as you try to control the unrest. What is it that you would like to tell us as a member of Bangladesh's government about its handling of this crisis?
Thank you very much for your question. First of all, the government is still determining the exact number. Once the number is determined and double-checked, and the government will declare the number of deceased people. About the internet, well, actually, in the very beginning, before July 18, in some of the places, very few places, temporarily, the internet was shut down because there were lots of rumors going around, which was adding fuel to the fire because tensions were pretty high. There were lots of clashes broke out, and government's intention was to restore peace. So for the security reason, government did that, but that was done temporarily and only few places. But on July 18th onward, what happened is the miscreants, they actually set fire to the data center and also the fiber optics cable in many parts of the country. And therefore, the whole thing got shut down. And the government was trying to restore it back, but they kept on finding some damage somewhere. And it took us like 3 to 4 days to bring it back. Now we are back on data again, and the internet is back.
You refer to many of the protesters, those involved in demonstrating, and indeed a number of those who were killed as, quote, miscreants there. I wonder how soon you will be clear about the exact number of civilians killed here. Why can't you know that number right now? What is the issue here?
The number of people got killed, injured, it needs to be determined. And when the government is going to give the number, that has to be absolutely accurate. Therefore, government has to work on that very, carefully. And you know that from yesterday onward only, the office started working. Before that, there was, it was officially closed, everything, because we were kind of dealing with the war-type situation in Bangladesh. And when it comes to the casualties, injuries and deaths, we're not willing to discriminate between the police and general people or the protesters or the people from the supporters of the government. Every single deaths are, equally important to us. We denounce all of the deaths, and we expressed our deep condolences to the family members, those who lost their lives. And we have already formed a independent judicial committee to make sure that a thorough investigation is done, so that everyone responsible for any of these casualties can be brought to book. That is the commitment of the government. But let me also give you a perspective here, what the country went through. We also witnessed the first ever jailbreak. That is, by no way can be considered as a protest or something. The anarchists, they descended on the Norshindi jail prison, and they escaped the 826 prisoners, including 9 high-level jihadists, those who were captured there. And the attackers, they also looted the firearms, the ammunitions and all that, and took 160 prison staff to hostage.
But to call a very, very large student body miscreants, do you think that that is in any way distorting the reality of the situation? Of course, people were out en masse to protest against this very unpopular job quota regulation.
First of all, the government issued a circular in 2018 abolishing quota fully. So students were happy about it. So what happened is later on in 2014, this year, and on June 5th, High Court cancelled that government circular. So the quota came back again. That's when the students started protesting. So at the same time, the government challenged the judgment of the High Court in the appellate division of the Supreme Court. And our position on the quota and the students' demand were on the same page. There was no difference. So we repeatedly appealed to the students that if there is a judgment coming out of the High Court, that cannot be changed in the street by demonstrating. So we went to the appellate division and challenging that judgment so that we can restore back the circular that was issued by the government back in 2018, something which was the demand of the students too. So we told them, why don't you come and join us, attach your lawyer in the court, and let us do it together in the court. So we kept on telling them to be patient, let us do it through the judicial process. So our position and their position were totally on the same page. But still they went ahead with this protest, and they wanted us to make a declaration that we're going to have to form a commission so that we can reform the quota. Then we said, when it is a sub judice matter, then government cannot officially make any declaration because that's going to be unconstitutional.
But the reason why that quota system was reinstated was because families and veterans of those involved in the independence struggle requested it. Are those people who requested the repeal of this law not supporters of your political party?
Yes, what High Court did is based on an application from another group of people. So they filed a writ petition, and based on that the High Court gave that judgment. But we from the government did not agree to that judgment of cancelling that circular in 2018. That's why we challenged that judgment to the appellate division. And we're making an argument in the Supreme Court that the 2018 circular should be restored back. Meaning our position and the demand of the students were the same. So we asked the students that instead of blocking the roads, instead of creating more sufferings of the people, of the movement, it's better that you be patient, let us all do it together in the judicial process. And Prime Minister also said that, see, in the meantime what happened, the clashes broke out in some places and some people got killed. 6 people got killed. Then after that, the Prime Minister appeared on the national television and she expressed her deep condolences. She denounced it, and she also made the declaration that we are going to investigate each one of them. And then she again appealed to the students that please be patient, you are not going to be hopeless. Your demand will be satisfied through the judicial process. We are trying our best to do it. We're fighting your cause in the appellate division in the Supreme Court.
Well, I mean, they would argue that it hasn't happened soon enough. Let me just repeat exactly what has happened in the last week or so, because, of course, as you mentioned, it started with these student protests against the job quota system, where 30% of jobs were originally reserved for veterans of the War of Independence and their close relatives. In light now of these protests, the Supreme Court has slashed that to 5%, with 2% for ethnic minorities and those with disability. So, in theory, 93% of jobs now should be given to people on merit. Is that how you see it? 93% of jobs in Bangladesh should go to people who simply deserve it?
Yes.
Do you then accept that the
93% will go to the merit?
So yes. You are in agreement that the quota system unfairly benefited those close to the ruling Awami League party, which of course was founded by those who fought the independence war. That is the argument that the protesters are making.
That is not correct, because let me tell you this. On 2018, when the circular was issued to abolish the quota, if you take a data preceding 5 years when the quota was there, then you can look at this. Out of the 30% of the freedom fighters quota, how many people was recruited? What percentage of the people fall into that category were recruited? It was only 8%. It was never filled, because the way it works is, first you have to apply for the preliminary exam. It's more than 100,000 people apply for it. Then then some people pass through it, then you have to apply for the written exam. And after that, you shortlist it, that becomes 2.5% of the total number of people who appears. Then you have to cross through the Viber process. Then it becomes 2.27% of the total number of people who initially applied. And out of that 2.27, then you apply the quota. So most of the cases, those who could be the beneficiary of the quota could not even make it to that level of merit, that list. So therefore, you can never apply the 100% quota that is there. So that was also unclear to many people, and we repeatedly tried to clarify this. Look, we are not against merit. We are in favor of merit. We are not for discrimination. We are against discrimination. We also said that your position is against discrimination, so is our position. Your position is for merit, so is our position. I can show you, it is documented. Many a times I myself made this statement to the media and told them, I don't see any difference between your position and our position. We can easily solve it through the judicial process. You don't have to go to the street, block the roads, and put people to sufferings and create a tension and potentially, a clash, and then eventually casualties. That's not necessary. All those people died. It was totally unwanted and unnecessary.
Understood, Mr. Arafat. Let me underline, of course, the big difference between your position and the protester position is that the government controls the authorities, the police, the army. I want to talk about the authorities' handling of what has happened here, because you may be keen to clearly blame the opposition or so-called miscreants, as you've called them, but it is essentially the government that is responsible for security. And if the numbers are to be believed, indirectly or directly responsible for the deaths of at least 150 people.
Okay, let me give you an example that will help you understand this. That's how I want to answer this question. See, the Bangladesh television, the BTV, it's one of the key point installations. I received a call on that day when they were attacked from the employees and the DG of the television. They're saying that they are hostage inside and they're in a life-threatening situation. They're all in a shaky and fearful voice. They're almost crying and asking me to send troops to help them. So there are supposed to be some policemen already there guarding that institution, but all those police got outnumbered. And because they were not permitted to open fire, they were just individuals. And all those miscreants went inside the BTV, literally invaded and set fire and started, vandalizing and, destroying all the assets. And then the other people who were somehow, finding some place to hide themselves, they did not know what to happen to them. Then we sent another group of BGB troops, and then they outnumbered them also, because they were not allowed to open fire. That's why they could not resist them. And these miscreants, and I would want to call them terrorists, if you come to Bangladesh and visit BTV, and if you look around it, you see some of the part of the BTV looks like Gaza.
Okay.
It looks like it has been bombarded, the way it has been burned down. So in a situation like that, what do you do?
I think, okay, look, let me summarize here.
One last thing I want to tell you.
Let me summarize here.
Those who...
Because what you've described, a protest movement, because largely in part it's been described as that. You've described them as miscreants, you've described them as terrorists, and you've described the alleged attack on the broadcasting centre as essentially an attempt of some sort of coup d'etat, comparing the situation to Gaza. Let's not forget that amongst many of the dead are young people in their 20s, people who were studying at universities who wanted a change of the law. Is it healthy to describe those who are opposed to your position in such colourful terms?
We're not talking about the students. We're not referring to the students to be the terrorists and anarchists. It is the third party, those who intruded into this movement and started doing all this. Who do you think indulged into the jailbreak and help 820 prisoners to escape? Who do you think is invading into the jail and then loot the firearms?
Please tell us who do you think that is? Please help us.
160 the prison staff hostage.
Please help us with who
and
you are accusing here.
All those things had happened here. It's all. So this is the third party, all the extremists and the terrorists, those who have the track record of doing all of this even in the past, back in 2015, 2013, and if you go back to the track record and look at it, you'll find out. One last thing I want to tell you again. Those who attack and those who get attacked cannot be equally responsible for any clashes and as a result of that any casualties. But no matter what happened, we are going to investigate everything thoroughly, and we are going to bring everyone responsible for this casualties.
Right. Let me get this straight. So
to the people of our country.
As a defence for the way in which the military, the police acted, you say that they cannot be accused of acting the way they did if they were attacked first. I mean, you're talking about a democracy here. We're talking about a government that is in charge of state security, saying that we did what we did because we were attacked first. Is that the way? Is that the way a healthy democracy acts?
You know, the problem for the outside media abroad, for them to comprehend the situation is happening is because everyone is stuck into a binary equation. Everyone is thinking the protesters who are students and then the government is there, they're having a clash. But that's not how it is. There's another factor in the equation, which is a third party. And the third party is the BNP and Jamaat terrorists and the anarchists who intruded into the equation and creating all this havoc. So this third party had this track record previously, and we have this evidence, and it was getting quite obvious who are doing it, because the students could not do it. It is not possible for the students to go inside all the government establishment and attacking and burning it down. They attacked the metro rail station.
Okay,
they attacked the expressway toll plaza.
Mr. Arafat,
you know how many 235 police facilities were damaged.
I understand that you are accusing this third party without substantiating any of that so far. But what I'm saying to you is not that. What I'm saying to you is that we do not know ultimately what these third-party groups were doing or what they were planning. We cannot substantiate any of that independently. But it is, at the end of the day, the government's responsibility for state security. And you must agree that something very seriously went wrong here.
No, hold on. Of course, we as a government, of course it is our responsibility to bring back the peace. And we did everything that we need to do to bring back the peace. We have to do it because it's our responsibility to protect the lives of the people. Therefore, we tried our best to diffuse the tension as much as possible. We tried our best to de-escalate the tension so that we can quickly bring back the peace. But because of the, some people who are trying to add fuel to the fire, are trying to create a situation where they can, take advantage of it and topple the government, they went to that extent, we believe, and it is getting more obvious now.
So, Mr. Arafat,
therefore, it's very difficult for us.
Mr. Arafat, we agree then that it is the government's ultimate responsibility to maintain state security. That clearly has, in many ways, crumbled over the past couple of weeks. Who bears the responsibility? Surely the buck stops with the Prime Minister, no? Should she resign?
I mean, she should resign for protecting the people. She's the one who is protecting the people. She's the one who is trying to de-escalate the tension. She's the one who is trying to diffuse the tension and trying to protect the people, trying to save the people from the anarchists, trying to save the people from the terrorists, trying to save the people from the attackers. Those who are attacking, and we got attacked, so we fought back and tried to defend, and because of that, the clashes broke out, and because of that, there's the casualties. The Prime Minister's responsibility is to bring everyone to book through a thorough investigation. That's what she's trying to do. And in a situation like that, a Prime Minister should try to protect the people. That's why she got the military out from the barrack to make sure the people are protected. So for helping the people, protecting the people, trying to bring back the peace, why on earth the Prime Minister should resign for that?
We're talking about 150 at least people dead. We don't have the official figures because your government will not release them as yet. It's hardly an exemplary handling of a situation.
Okay, so the thing is, I didn't want to discriminate between the people who got dead, but do you know there are so many students, those who belong to the student wing of Awami League, they were thrown from the roof and they died. There were policemen who was killed and hanged on the pole, his dead body. One of the former mayor was brutally attacked and he is fighting with life and death situation in the hospital. One of his assistants got killed and he was also hanged on the pole, on the tip of the pole, like Jesus Christ. So all those things had happened. Those who were attacked, again, we were under attacked. we are the one fought back and defend ourselves and trying to bring the peace back. So those who attacked, they are responsible, or those who got attacked, they are responsible for this.
You are basically saying that amongst those people who died are people who were also staunch supporters of the Awami League. That doesn't in any way make the security situation any better. And at the end of the day, it requires, as you've mentioned, an independent investigation to find out exactly what happened. Who will be conducting that investigation?
Exactly.
Who will be conducting that investigation, and when will we expect results?
Okay. So the thing is, the committee, the independent judicial committee, has been already formed and constituted, headed by one of the senior justice of the appellate division of the Supreme Court, and they will be investigating it. They'll be investigating it, and then we want to genuinely see a thorough investigation and the outcome of it, because every single casualty that happened actually made us victim of it. Because we did not want any chaos to happen in this country. We wanted law and order situation to be controlled. We wanted the peace to be there, prevail for the people. We wanted the business as usual. We wanted the development to go on instead of having destruction onto us. They destroyed so many things, so many government establishment, and so much of losses. All of this were absolutely unwanted, unexpected, and unnecessary, especially when our position and the position of the students were at the same position there. Yes, one thing could have happened that we're also guessing, that the way the group of people, they planned it to take the whole thing to this direction, we may not have been able to estimate or comprehend that in the first place. So it got the whole country to this, but eventually we've been able to withstand all this conspiracy and the pressure, and we have been able to bring back the business as usual. Now our first job would be to do a thorough investigation through this independent the judicial committee, and then bring everyone to book who are responsible for this.
Mr. Arafat, your opponents accuse you of politicizing the situation there in the country before the full understanding of the investigation and what exactly happened is made public. Are you politicizing the situation to undermine your political opponents and these so-called third-party groups that you say were helping the violence and aspect that we saw in Bangladesh? Are you politicizing things?
So the investigation, those who will be investigating, they'll do the thorough investigation, more in-depth investigation, and they'll find out the exact result, what happened. But what we are saying now is not that. What we are saying is, looking at the destruction, looking at the thing that happened, jailbreak, capturing the firearms, getting the prisoner to escape, and those kind of things cannot be done by the students.
Okay,
that has to be done by a group of people, those who have done it before in the. So that's a political understanding of us.
Understood. Let's focus on what we do know as we reach the end of this discussion. And what we do know is that the Prime Minister has been accused of adding heat to the situation, of pouring fuel on the fire by referring to the protesters as razakars. That essentially means traitors, doesn't it? I mean, those people who sided with Pakistan to try and crush the independence movement. Was it right for the Prime Minister to call student demonstrators razakars?
She did not say that. She did not say that. She said something else, and they misinterpreted and twisted her statement into something else so that they can antagonize the student and get them out of the halls. And that's exactly what they did. Prime Minister made her speech in the late afternoon, and all the students started coming out at 11:30 p.m. at night, in the middle of the night. So they took some time to brainwash those students, antagonize them, and then planned it and got them out of the halls at the middle of the night, which was not legal. And they broke down the gates and all that. So they wanted this tension to go up. So this is what we are sensing now. It is becoming very obvious. So those who wanted to create this tension and through this some kind of chaos in the country.
So you deny in any way that there was any way a decision by the Prime Minister or any member of government to try and discredit and undermine what were initially, quite legitimate student protests.
We never undermined any of their demands ever in any of our statements. We repeatedly said, what you are asking on the street, you cannot change the judgment of the High Court in the street. It has to be changed only through judicial process. We are fighting your cause in the appellate division. That's what we said.
If you are fighting, if you are fighting their cause, if you are fighting the student cause, as you say, in parallel, would you then consider compensation for those killed? Will police and those described as, quote, hired thugs by the demonstrators be prosecuted? Compensation, prosecution for those who have caused deaths or injuries in these clashes?
Yes, absolutely. The Prime Minister already made this declaration. And one last thing, to answer another question. The leaders of the BNP and its student wing, they publicly confirmed their covert participation. If you scan through their Facebook posts and messages, it will be very obvious to everyone how BNP and Jamaat covertly intruded into this peaceful movement and turned the whole thing into a total destruction.
Mr. Arafat, as we've been saying throughout this discussion, we do not have a member or members of the opposition right now. The conversation is with you as a member of government. We cannot substantiate or stand up any of the claims that you have made. But as a last question, I want to reflect on the health of democracy in Bangladesh, because of course, after elections were boycotted by the opposition in January, there are big questions about how fragile democracy is in Bangladesh at the moment. And of course, these violent demonstrations haven't helped, have they?
Okay. First of all, in the last election, most of the registered political party who are actually, legally allowed to participate in the election, they participated. Most party participated. It is not correct that most party did not participate. It was BNP and Jamaat. Jamaat is not registered and authorized to participate anyway. BNP did not participate, even though we repeatedly invited them to come and participate. So it was totally their choice and their decision. And we still believe they should have participated in the election, because you should participate, and if there's something wrong, then you can identify and fix it. We don't say that our democracy and democratic system is foolproof and absolutely perfect. We don't say that. We have a long way to go, but we're in the process of going. Democracy is something which gets fine-tuned and improved through practices. But we do not get any cooperation from the opposition to get it improved, because we tried our best to strengthen the Election Commission. We tried our best to empower and make it more transparent through many reforms initiatives. As many as 82 reforms initiatives has been taken by this government in last 15 years to empower the Election Commission, get it separated from the government and make it stronger, so that in the future, we are looking ahead in the future that we want to give it a strong foundation on democracy and electoral process into Bangladesh. But we need some support from the opposition for this to cooperate with us and do it. But they are only in the process of boycotting, in the process of looting and arsoning and destruction.
Mohammad Arafat, Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting, thanks for joining us on Talk to Al Jazeera.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.